Complete American History, Part 6, Section 2 of 2, Civil War, Jim Crow Explained. Jim Crow laws began, starting in the 1870s and 1880s. Racial oppression and inequality was heavily enforced by the law. So let's break this down a little. Segregation of schools, transportation, and also public facilities were strictly enforced. Blacks could not vote, and it was made sure through poll taxes and literacy tests. So they didn't have the ability to do so based on those things. Interracial marriage was also banned. Whites only and colored only signs were everywhere, meaning people of color could only drink from certain fountains and go to certain restrooms, while whites were able to go to other restrooms and use other fountains. How did Jim Crow end? Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964 that outlawed segregation. Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965, which restored the right for black citizens to vote. Full equality was still not granted. Racism and discrimination continued for decades, and much remains today. How World War II helped end Jim Crow. Fighting racism abroad exposed American hypocrisy. Black soldiers refused to accept segregation after World War II. Pressure for a double victory abroad and back home. And segregation made America look bad during Cold War. So World War II helped crack Jim Crow for good. Cracks in segregation after World War II. In 1948, Harry S. Truman ordered the military desegregated, one of the first major federal moves against segregation. In 1950, Sweet versus Painter challenged segregated law schools. Supreme Court ruling stated separate but equal was unfair. In 1954, Brown versus Board of Education ruled school segregation unconstitutional, a significant 1950s through 60s civil rights milestone. So U.S. military desegregated and segregation starts crumbling. Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, a law passed by Congress, not an amendment. It outlawed segregation in public places such as schools and restaurants, and it targeted Jim Crow directly. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was another law, not an amendment. It protected voting rights for Black Americans, and it banned things like literacy tests. So modern laws in the 1960s that attacked Jim Crow directly were the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. End of Jim Crow met massive resistance, including violence and political obstruction. Massive resistance in the South Southern politicians and governments led organized pushback against desegregation. Violence and intimidation. Civil rights activists were harassed, beaten, jailed, and sometimes killed. Klan-type violence increased in the South. That meant white Europeans were burning down the houses of the black individuals. They were hanging people and doing much more. Stalling loopholes and white flight. Many Southern states delayed integration and saw white families move to suburbs or private. Some gradual acceptance. Over time, people began to comply, but it didn't happen overnight. Change required persistent activism and federal enforcement. Wonderful job, Creative Learning Adventures. You have made it to the end. Like, comment, and subscribe. Presented by M.A.T Creations and Mindset Motivation Hubs. We will see you next time. Bye for now, family and friends.